Guilty of unlawful imprisonment. That's the verdict announced this morning in the case against 62-year-old Karen Kirby. The bench trial concluded this morning in Marquette County Circuit Court with Judge Thomas Solka's verdict. TV6's Nikki Davidson was in the courtroom and joins us now with more details. Nikki?
Steve, Kirby has been convicted of holding her 32-year-old daughter against her will at a Champion Township residence during a raid by Michigan State Police in May. That incident landed Kirby and her living companion Calvin Martz behind bars. This week in court, all three of the occupants of that raided cabin appeared in court. Judge Solka identified the victim, Kirby's daughter, as the most credible witness to what transpired.
The defendant, Karen Kirby, is guilty of the crime of unlawful imprisonment.
Judge Thomas Solka said this case came down to witness credibility, a battle that defendant Karen Kirby lost. She's now facing up to 15 years in prison.
Ms. Kirby, anything further on your behalf? No.
Kirby represented herself this week in court, calling Calvin Martz as her sole witness, choosing not to testify on her own behalf. Martz claimed Kirby's daughter was his wife under God and had returned to their home to reside there permanently with the two. He also denied that they had secretly and physically restrained the victim from leaving the cabin and contacting authorities during a May 6th raid by Michigan State Police.
I found his testimony to be quite inconsistent and at times incomprehensible.
Several officers from the Michigan State Police and Marquette PD, as well as the victim, testified for the prosecution. The victim says Martz had been sexually assaulting her since the age of 14 when he had claimed her as his wife. She had intended to pay a short visit only to her mother and then was confined with the two for several days. She claimed she was physically restrained by both Martz and Kirby on the day of the raid. Assistant prosecuting attorney Judge Bray says the verdict will give the victim a chance to move on.
The evidence was overwhelming that she was a participant and an aider and abetter to Calvin Martz.
Judge Solka also mentioned that a long history of dysfunctional relationships laid the groundwork to May's events. Kirby is expected to be sentenced January 20th. Martz has been convicted of 5 criminal counts in relation to the incident, the most severe being criminal sexual conduct. He faces life in prison and is slated for sentencing tomorrow morning.